You're taken into a dark cave. Your mission is to escape without getting caught. 4 different colored doors appear in front of you. A red one leads to an outer galaxy without a trace of oxygen. A yellow door leads you to a great white shark-infested water tank. A blue one leads to 66 million years ago, the time when a massive asteroid hit the Earth and made dinosaurs go extinct. And a purple door leads to a beautiful island filled with beaches and delicious food. On the wall, there's only one clue. It reads, "Pick the door that's not a primary color." You've got 10 seconds to open the right door. It's the purple door. Red, yellow, and blue are all primary colors, while purple is secondary. Plus, don't forget there's beaches and delicious food. You've managed to escape, and now you're transported to the beautiful island. You find a citizen in need. He tells you his brother had been taken by an evil mathematician, and the only way to escape is to solve his riddle. You rush to the scene and arrive at precisely 3 p.m. There, the mathematician greets you with an angry look and a tricky riddle. "If you calculate the height of my tower, you and my prisoner are free to go. If you fail, you'll stay here forever. I offer you 3 calculation methods to choose from: multiple long sticks, your shadow, or the long rope hanging from the tower. I give you 9 seconds." Without even knowing the measurements of the sticks or the length of the rope, even if they're the same height as the tower, you'd still not know the actual size of the building. The best option is your shadow. Knowing your height, you can compare how many times your shadow fits into the tower's shadow. Add them together, and you've just found the right answer. Now that you're safe and sound, you go to your hotel to get some rest. That's when the restaurant manager calls you for help. He left the dinner service and his staff members said everything was quiet, so they closed up early. Before shutting down the restaurant, the manager asked them to send him a photo of the deserted restaurant. This is the photo I received. Everything seems empty and it appears my staff members are truthful. But something seems off. Can you help me figure it out?" You've got 8 seconds. It appears the image was photoshopped. The employees removed the people from the picture, but they forgot to erase someone's hand from the table. Right before walking upstairs to your room, the HR manager calls you into her office. She needs help with a job application she received for the receptionist position. She's looking for someone who is multilingual and narrowed it down to 3 applicants. But only one person is telling the truth. Sarah is from Belgium and she speaks Dutch. Louise is from Switzerland and she speaks Swedish. Marie is from Monte Carlo and speaks Italian. You've got 7 seconds to figure out who is truthful. It's Sarah. In Belgium, they do speak Dutch, French, and German. In Switzerland, they mainly speak German, and in Monte Carlo, French. Time to go to your room and get some rest. But the elevator you entered is a trap. It takes you to the hotel's basement, where 3 doors appear in front of you. The first door takes you to the Amazon rainforest, with green anacondas, electric eels, and poison dart frogs. The second takes you to the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, the largest and most potent current globally. The third takes you to the top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It's the tallest mountain and largest volcano in the world that goes below sea level. Only one of them takes you to a safe place. Which one? You've got 6 seconds. Pick the third door. Mauna Kea is a dormant volcano, and it stopped erupting hundreds of thousands of years ago, so you're safe. You've made it out of the shady cave and you need to go to your room. As soon as you enter, the lights go off, and you hear bars lowering to the floor and huge chains shaking. You use your arms to navigate around and come across dots on the wooden floor. You run your fingers through them. It's Braille, and it reads, "One of the 3 magic mushrooms on this table will help you leave this place. Pick wisely, otherwise you'll be stuck in this dark room forever." The mushrooms on the left will make you super strong and provides healing powers. The one in the middle will bring the electricity back, and you'll be able to see. The one on the right will make you small and invisible. You've got 5 seconds to pick the right mushroom. Turning the lights on won't free you, and becoming invisible doesn't mean you won't bump into walls. The best option is the strength and healing mushroom. You can bang on the walls and bars until you break them. The next day rolls around. You head into the parking lot to pick up your car, but the car seems to be locked. There's a 3-digit PIN code lock on the passenger side door. On the side of the device, you read a clue. ABC equals 123. On the ground, there's a piece of paper that reads BAD. Use the clue to find PIN code numbers. Here are your 4 seconds. The code is 214. B is the second letter, A is the first, and D is the fourth. Now that you've got your car, time to do some shopping at the mall. You visit a jewelry shop. You discover it has a mysterious extension leading to a room filled with gold coins, diamonds, and other expensive metals. As soon as the owner spots you, he traps you in the room and locks the door. Nice shop. He tells you there's only one way to survive in that dark chamber. You must eat 1 muffin. If you eat the wrong one, you won't make it. But if you pick the right one, you'll be free to go. The first muffin turns you into moss. The second one turns you into a badger. The third muffin will turn you into a snake. 3 seconds. Moss can't survive without the sun for long, and snakes need the sun to regulate their body's temperature. The correct answer is the muffin that turns you into a badger. These creatures spend long periods in the dark. The mayor of the town calls you into his office. He politely ignores the fact that you're now a badger. He says that something mysterious is going on inside one of the town's restaurants. Everyone has turned into a zombie. Only one human is left in the bar, and you must save them. But first, you have to identify them. You're shown a photo with 3 people. Only one of them is human. You've got 3 seconds. It's the lady on the right. It looks like the red spot on her shirt came from her hot dog. The lady on the left is missing part of her ear. Now the mayor takes you to the local school. The principal needs to decide which of the students deserves to go to space camp next summer. She picked all the students that got A's on their report cards and gave each of them a bean. She said, "The person who will return with the tallest bean plant will win the prize, but you can't cheat." All kids came back with large plant pots and bean plants filled with smaller beans. Only one girl returned with a plant pot filled with soil. As soon as the principal saw her pot, he gave her the prize. Why? Here are your 3 seconds. The teacher gave them cold cooked beans. They couldn't have sprouted unless the students cheated. And these guys all got A's, huh? Makes you wonder. The mayor takes you with him on an investigation. A man named Martin had finished his veggie garden and invited his friends over for a party. Then his wife vanished. He called detectives, and there are 3 suspects in front of you. Steve said he was looking at the cherry tomatoes and picked one to try it. Donna said she was checking out the little squashes that had started growing. Martin said he was taking professional pictures of the flowers for his blog. You've got 2 seconds to determine who's lying. It's Martin. This was a veggie garden. It didn't have any flowers. Time for your last test. You're walking into an underground tomb. You must retrieve the treasure and make it out alive. As you walk deeper and deeper into the tomb, you come across a mysterious creature. He says, "You must correctly answer my riddle. If you do, the treasure is yours. If you don't, you'll disappear forever. I'm not alive, but I can grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air to breathe. If water touches me, I cease to exist. What am I?" 2 seconds. The answer is fire. Lola is a waitress on a giant cruise liner. One night, after the restaurant closed, she found an expensive watch on the floor. She announced it on the cruiser's radio, and 3 people showed up to claim it. Roger showed Lola the tan line on his wrist and asked her to give him the watch back. Mary said she remembered dropping the watch near the entrance of the restaurant and wants it back. Susie kept asking if the watch was okay and if it was working. Lola decided that the watch belonged to Susie. Why? You've got 10 seconds. Roger's tan line on his wrist is too small compared to the watch Lola found. And if Mary remembered where she dropped the watch, why didn't she pick it up? Susie knows how expensive her watch is, and she was worried it broke. Jenna and Michael were out partying on Halloween night. Michael told Jenna she wouldn't dare to go to a 120-year-old abandoned castle on the other side of town. Rumor had it that a mad scientist used to live there. Without a second thought, Jenna started walking. She reached the house at 3 a.m. and the door was open. When she walked in, the crazy scientist showed up and told her, "I've got a riddle for you. If you answer it correctly, you're free to go. If not, I get to do my scientific experiments on you. A sphere has 3, a circle has 2, and a point has 0. What is it?" You've got 9 seconds to find out. Dimensions. Michael left his work and walked into the dark parking lot in the basement to get his car. When he approached his vehicle, he saw a 4-pin lock on his door. He kept looking at it when his boss showed up. He told Michael, "I want to see if you're smart enough to get a promotion. You only get 1 try. If you figure the code, tomorrow you'll move to the executive's office." His boss gave Michael a piece of paper that read, "Which was the latest passing year that was the same upside down?" Michael started thinking of all the years that passed, and the next day he got the promotion. You have 8 seconds. Think fast. It's 1961. Susie arrived at the dance studio for her rehearsal when she found her instructor unconscious on the floor. Next to him there was a broken vase. Someone must have hit him on the head. Susie called Detective Allen at the scene, and he was suspecting 3 people who entered the studio that day. William, another instructor, said he had an emergency private class with a celebrity and left before anyone showed up at the studio. Mason, a professional dancer, said he took the week off and dropped by today to give the keys back to the dance instructor because he forgot them in his bag when he left the day before. Sally, a dancer, said she had class today, but when she showed up, she didn't see anyone through the window and assumed the studio was closed. Detective Allen knew exactly who was lying. You've got 7 seconds. It was Sally. Her fingers are covered in bandages and cuts. They must have happened when she broke the vase. Lucy was walking back home from the restaurant. She was talking on the phone to her sister and took a shortcut through a creepy park. Suddenly, someone came behind her and snatched her handbag from her shoulder. She tried to chase them, but it was too dark. She only saw a figure going into the cinema. Lucy followed them there, and when she went in, she only saw 3 girls standing there and questioned them. The first girl said she just got there, and she's waiting for her friend to arrive. She said she's holding a big bag to sneak some food into the theater. The second girl said she missed the movie because she has a broken leg and it took her a while to get all the way to the cinema, so she's waiting for the next viewing. The third girl said she came back from her friend's house and wanted to see what movies are playing. Lucy took a good look at them and knew exactly who was lying. You've got 6 seconds. It was the girl with the broken leg. Her left leg is broken, and instead of holding the crutch on the left to support her weight, she has it on the right side. Alex was at the park, snapping photos of trees and flowers for a photography competition. When he finished, he placed his camera on the bench and tried to disassemble his equipment to head back to his car. Suddenly, he heard someone running, and his camera was gone. He saw the person going inside a blue car. Alex got the rest of his stuff and followed the robber. He then saw the car parked outside a restaurant. He walked in and saw 3 people sitting down. Can you guess which of them is the robber? You have 5 seconds. It's the one on the right looking at the menu. The others are eating. They've been there for a while. Sarah and Michelle went to explore an abandoned castle. When they walked in, the door shut behind them and the lights went on. In front of them, 3 doors appeared. They must pick the right one to make it out alive. Behind the first door, there's a hungry crocodile that hasn't eaten in 2.5 years. Behind the second door, there's lava from a volcano that erupted 2 weeks ago. And behind the third door, there's a massive seawater pool with a whale shark you must swim through. You have 4 seconds to decide. Crocodiles can go without food for 3 years, and lava can remain hot when it's well insulated for months. The best option is the whale shark. Even though it's a shark, we humans are indifferent to them. Tori was the lead actress in a movie. They were filming on a deserted island to make sure nobody was around to interrupt the scenes. The day before the shooting, Tori was found unconscious in her room, and the crew member called Detective Martin on the case. He interviewed 4 suspects. The producer said he'd be scouting the island to find a new location with a lake, and he didn't talk to anyone all day. The writer said he'd been making some adjustments to the scripts in his trailer. The camera operator said he was testing his filming equipment when a stranger approached him for directions. He ran off to help them. The director was sitting on the beach, writing down notes about small details he wanted to add to the movie. Detective Martin figured it out in 3 seconds. Can you? It was the camera operator. Hey, this was a deserted island. Nobody was there needing help. Anna is a vegetarian restaurant owner. The day she opened the new restaurant, she invited her family to celebrate. Her sister came first, but found Anna unconscious on her office floor. She immediately called the police, and they questioned everyone that entered Anna's restaurant that day. The electrician said he came in for some final checks to make sure everything works. The cleaner said he came in for his shift, but Anna was okay before he left. The chef said he had been sharpening his knives for the meat carvery station. The police arrested the chef. Why? Here are your 3 seconds. This was a vegetarian restaurant. There's no meat carvery station. Jenny, a famous singer, went abroad for her first concert. She checked into a hotel and went to perform for her next show. When she returned to her room, she realized all her jewelry was gone, and she called the police. Detectives checked the cameras and saw that nobody left the hotel that night. The person who took them was still inside. There were only 3 people at the hotel. Michael said he couldn't sleep and spent the entire night in the lounge reading. Jason, the manager, said he spent the night in the back office watching TV because it was quiet. Margaret said she went to the hotel's pool to swim alone. The police knew who was lying. You've got 2 seconds. It's Margaret. Hotel pools are closed tonight for maintenance. Jason and his wife are millionaires. They have 3 sons and 2 daughters. All kids were going on a camping trip together, and the couple will have the weekend for themselves to relax. When they woke up the next day, all their money was taken from their safe, and they called the police. When the officers showed up, they interviewed the 3 people who were in the house that morning. The butler said he was cleaning the car after driving the kids to the camping site. The chef said he was busy preparing a huge breakfast for the family. The cleaner said he finished cleaning quickly that day and left early. The police figured out who was lying in 1 second. Can you? It was the chef. Since the kids were gone, he couldn't have been cooking breakfast for the family. A punctured tire. A man was driving his car all the way from New York to Boston. Only at the end of the trip did he discover that one of his car's tires had been punctured from the very beginning. Still, he managed to reach his destination successfully, and his journey wasn't affected by this problem. How is it possible? The punctured tire was the spare one. A tricky ploy. A big company director returned from lunch and discovered that his safe had been broken into and all the money had been taken from it. Inside, he saw a note, "Don't even consider calling the police." Well, the man did exactly the opposite. He called the police and told them he suspected that his half-brother David was to blame. One of the police officers visited David and asked him several questions, but the man showed the detective his right arm, which was in a cast. "Look, I broke my arm just a couple of days ago. I couldn't get into my brother's office or write a note." The police officer had nothing to do but leave. He decided to have lunch in a cafe across the road from David's apartment. Half an hour later, the detective noticed the man leaving home. At that very moment, the detective realized that the brother was guilty after all and rushed to arrest him. How did he understand? The police officer noticed that while leaving the apartment, David had the cast not on his right but on his left arm. Is he smart enough? One day, a cute new guy, Tom, joined Katie's class. All her classmates had a crush on him, and he clearly knew about his popularity. But whatever they did, Tom didn't pay attention to any of their signs of affection, and his eyes were only for Katie. She also liked him a lot, but she wanted to make sure he wasn't just cute but smart too. So once, when they stayed alone in the classroom, Katie walked up to the whiteboard, took the marker, and wrote 128 square root sign E 980. Tom looked at it for a few seconds and then smiled, and Katie knew he cracked her riddle. Can you? Mathematically, this riddle doesn't make any sense, but if you wipe the upper half of the whole expression, you'll get "I love you." Takes a bit of wit, huh? A fired manager. Mark, Jim, and Bob work as managers in the same office. One day, one of them is fired, and one gets a promotion. The remaining manager wants to resign at first, but then changes his mind. You know that the one who's fired is older than the rest and single. Jim's younger than the manager who has decided to stay at work, and he doesn't know Bob's wife. Who's fired? It's not Jim because he's younger than the manager who stays. It's also not Bob because he's married. It means that Mark has been fired, Jim has got a promotion, and Bob has decided to stay in his position. An antique dealer's riddle. David was a famous antique dealer in his town, but there were loads of people who envied him. The man had a young, beautiful daughter, Lisa. One evening, when the antiquarian was busy in his workshop, his phone rang. A man told him that they had David's daughter. If he wanted to see her again, he had to give his jewelry collection to a man waiting at the doors. It wasn't the first time someone was threatening David. That's why he requested to talk to his daughter. He asked her just one question. "I have 2 hands, but I can't scratch myself. What am I?" When David heard no answer, he said, "It's not my daughter," and hung up. What's the answer to this riddle? Lisa would know that her father was talking about a clock. A driver's problem. A man was driving along a countryside road when one of his car tires burst. While changing it, he accidentally lost all 4 wheel nuts. The road was deserted, and the driver was afraid he'd have to spend many hours waiting for someone who could give him a hand. But a kid passing by his vehicle said something that helped the man solve his problem. What advice did the child give the driver? The kid told the man to remove 1 nut from each of the remaining wheels and use them to secure the new tire. This way, the man could get to the nearest service station. Notorious shoplifters. Detectives had been trying to catch 2 infamous shoplifters for several years, and finally, after another case, they managed to capture one of the culprits. Police officers were interrogating him for 2 days, but he said nothing about the goods and money they'd taken or his accomplice's whereabouts. Still, in the next 24 hours, the detectives managed to find the place where the stuff was hidden. It was a small house in the suburbs. In its basement, there was a man who seemed very excited to see the police. He said he'd been trapped in the house already for a week. Nobody visited him, and he was starting to run out of food. That's why he was so happy to read the good news in the paper. The police officers immediately realized it was the accomplice they'd been looking for. How? If he was trapped in the basement, how could he get a hold of fresh newspapers? 2 buckets. You have 2 buckets of water. In the first bucket, the water is heated up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In the second bucket, the water is cooled down to minus 100 degrees. You need to simultaneously drop 2 coins into the buckets. Which coin will reach the bottom faster? The coin thrown into the warm water. The other won't sink at all because the water in the bucket is frozen. Let it go. Important documents. John, the director of a big company, managed to persuade his partners to sign a super important agreement. He then put this document into a folder and left it on the table in his private office. When he returned to work the next morning, the folder was gone. Surprise, surprise. John gathered all the employees who were in the office at that time and questioned them. The cleaning lady said she had been busy washing the floor and hadn't paid attention to anything around. The designer explained he hadn't left his working place even once. What's more, being an artist, he didn't have any interest in agreement documents. The accountant admitted that he had entered John's office to have some documents signed, but once he noticed there was no one inside, he immediately left. Who took the folder with the agreement? It was the designer. Otherwise, how would he know that the missing folder had an agreement inside? Socks puzzle. Matthew wears either only black or only white socks. One evening, he's in a hurry, getting ready for a romantic dinner with his girlfriend. Suddenly, the power goes out. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in his drawer, but all of them are mixed. If it's completely dark in the room and Matthew can't see anything, how many socks must he pull out of the drawer to get 2 matching ones? Just 3. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 socks of the same color. A smart teacher. One day, a teacher decided to give her students a test, but all of them refused to take it. She could give detention for skipping the test to only one student. All of them knew each other's names. If a student knew they were going to get detention, they agreed to take the test. How could the teacher make all the students participate? She told them that she'd give detention to the student whose name came first alphabetically. Then this person wouldn't skip the test. The next person on the list wouldn't skip as well, and so on until the end of the list. Hidden treasure. Martha really loved her little sister Mary, but once she had to go away for the whole day. She didn't want Mary to miss her too much or get bored. That's why she organized a treasure hunt for the girl. Before Martha left, she gave her little sister a map. She told the girl if she followed the instructions, she'd find a real treasure. Mary followed the map to a T. She made the exact number of steps and turned at all the right spots. She eventually got to the end and started digging. The little girl dug and dug, but still found nothing. Naturally, she was pretty upset. When Martha got back, she took the map and almost immediately found the treasure. How so? Martha made one major mistake when she was drawing the map. Her steps were a lot bigger than Mary's. That's why the younger girl couldn't find the spot where Martha had hidden the treasure. What happened to Prom King? Soon after Bob became king on prom night, he vanished. Poof, like that. His teachers were looking for him everywhere. They believed there were 3 people who could be behind his disappearance. Bob's rival Joe said he had been dancing all night with his girlfriend and hadn't seen Bob. Bob's classmate Dennis claimed he hadn't been feeling well, so he spent all night in the lounge. Laura, Bob's secret admirer, said she had been counting the votes for the election. The teachers knew who was behind the disappearance right away. It was Laura. Bob had already become prom king. She didn't need to count the votes. Sam's birthday. Sam is a truly special young lady. She was just 17 the day before yesterday. Next year, she'll be 20 already. What's her secret? Sam's not a time traveler or anything. She was born on December 31st. So if today is January 1st, it's correct to say that she was 17 the day before yesterday. She turned 18 the next day. She'll be 19 on the last day of this year, and next year, she'll be 20. Sam invited his friends to dinner to show them the engagement ring he bought for his girlfriend. They sat down, and he placed the ring on the table. Suddenly, the lights flickered off and the room went dark. When the lights came back on, the ring was missing. He called the manager and they interviewed his friends. Julie said she hadn't even gotten the chance to see the ring before the room went dark. Roger said he saw the ring's sparkly reflection as the lights went out, but nothing else. Michael said he was searching for his phone to snap a photo of the ring. The manager took a good look at everyone and knew who did it. You have 10 seconds to figure it out. It was Julie. When they sat down, she wasn't wearing gloves. Now she is. Liam's parents are police officers. They were working on a dangerous case and asked Liam to keep it a secret. After a week, he received a message from his mom telling him, "Son, we're okay. Don't contact anyone. We've sent you $5,317. Liam thought the message was suspicious. He checked his bank account, but he hadn't received any money. He immediately called the chief of police. Why? Here are your 9 seconds. If you flip the number 5317 upside down and horizontally, it reads lies. His parents are in danger, and they're communicating with him in code. While walking down the street, Susie found $10. 3 people were sitting on the roadside, and it was clear they needed some money. So she decided to help one of them. Kyle said, "I need some money for shelter tonight." If you have something to spare, it will help me a lot." Jim said, "You're a good girl. I don't have anything, and I don't know what you look like because I'm blind. But $10 will buy me enough food for today and tomorrow." Susan said, "I need money to feed my dog. He is at home and he's starving." Susan knew exactly who really needed help. You've got 8 seconds. She helped Kyle. Jim must have seen the $10, which is why he asked for the exact amount, even though he said he was blind. And Susan doesn't appear to be in much need since she has a place to stay. Mike is an undercover police officer. He had been following a suspect at the train station when the suspect exchanged a briefcase with another person. Michael followed the suspect further. The target walked into a huge corporate building. It was filled with security guards, and Mike couldn't get in. He saw through a window that the target went to the 10th floor. When Mike went back to his car, he found 3 uniforms in his truck: an electrician's uniform, a police officer's uniform, a window cleaner's uniform. You've got 7 seconds to pick one for Mike. The electrician would need to show some ID, so Mike would be outed as an imposter. The police officer would need to show some ID too, and that would ruin his undercover status. But the window cleaner doesn't have to go inside the building. He can climb up the window and pretend to clean them. Sarah called Detective Archie at midday on Monday to tell him she found her husband unconscious on the floor. She had been out shopping all morning, but when she visited her husband's home office to ask if he was hungry, he was lying on the ground. The ambulance came and collected her husband, but the detective didn't let anyone else leave. There were 3 other people in the house. The cook said, "I've been cooking all day. The couple is having a dinner party tonight and I'm swamped." The security guard said, "I was installing security cameras to make sure everything will be safe tonight." The house cleaner said, "I've been cleaning the living room, the sitting area, and all guest bathrooms to prepare for tonight, since everyone will be indoors." Who is lying? Here are your 6 seconds. It's the security guard. The cameras he's installing are outside. The house cleaner said this was an indoor party. One Friday afternoon, Shane, the CEO of a huge company, called the police to report a crime. The CEO said, "They broke into my office and smashed all my furniture. Then they hijacked the door and now it won't close. When they hijacked the safe, they took all my documents. I have only one key to the safe and nobody else has access to it." The detective immediately took Shane to the police station as the main suspect. Why? Here are your 5 seconds. If someone hijacked the safe, it wouldn't close, just like the door. But Shane was able to open and close his safe with his key. Michael is a private investigator and was going on a cruise to Norway. One morning, the captain came to his cabin needing help. The captain said he was studying some old 100-year-old maps and fell asleep on the bridge. When he awoke, his valuable watch was gone. Michael called in the last 3 people who were on the bridge that evening to interview them. The sailor said he was trying to uncover the lifeboats because there's a cyclone in Norway. The passengers might need to abandon ship. The cook said he was taking inventory to see what supplies he needed from Norway. The chief engineer said he was headed to the engine room with 2 other sailors because one of the engines had a problem. Michael knew exactly who was lying. You've got 4 seconds. It was the sailor. None of the lifeboats are uncovered, and if there's a cyclone, putting people on lifeboats in stormy seas would be more dangerous than staying aboard. Sally went to Hawaii for 6 weeks for her summer vacation. When she returned, her mansion was trashed and her dog was missing. She called the police and they started their investigation. Detective Michael noticed there were no signs of a break-in and there was fresh fruit on the table. He interviewed 3 people. Sally's son said, "I never visit my mom's house. I'm allergic to her dog." The maid said, "I came here a week ago, cleaned the house, fed the dog, brought some food, and then I left." The butler said, "I was on vacation at the same time as Sally. I came back yesterday. Here are my tickets." Michael figured out who was lying in 3 seconds. It's the butler. Even though the dates match, the tickets show 2019, not 2020. Lisa went to the movie theater on Halloween night with her husband. He was running late, so she sat down and waited for him. When the lights turned off, 2 people arrived and sat beside her. The one on the left had red spots on his shirt. He held a bag with red splatters that contained something very suspicious, and he had scratches all over his face. The one on the right had pale skin, bright red eyes, and he was holding a creepy doll. Lisa needs to go to the bathroom, and one of these people is her husband. Should she go right or left? Here are your 3 seconds. She should go left. Since it's Halloween and both people are wearing creepy costumes, look at their fingers. The guy on the left has a wedding ring like Lisa. It's her husband. The guy on the right holds a creepy doll that seems to be alive. Lucy is hosting a career guidance conference to inspire young students to pursue their dreams. She invited one person from each profession. When the conference ended, Lucy discovered the most expensive painting in the meeting room was gone. She called the police, and they searched the briefcases of the last 3 professionals to leave the room. The electrical engineer has a bag filled with wires, circuit boards, small screwdrivers, and solder. The plumber has a wrench, a hammer, and some plastic pipes. The veterinarian has a laser, a hammer, a drill, a fluorescent light, and a pair of latex gloves. Which of the 3 is dishonest? You've got 2 seconds. The veterinarian. Most of the things in his bag aren't related to his profession, and he used the gloves to avoid leaving any fingerprints. Dun, 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 dun. Thirsty on an island. Simon was shipwrecked and washed up on the shore of a deserted island. He's thirsty, and the only thing he has is a plastic bag and a straw. After looking around, he sees a juicy cactus, a tall leafy tree, a dirty pond, a pool of mud. How can he use the plastic bag to get water? He can't use the cactus. It can be toxic, and without a sharp tool to reach the pulp, the plastic bag is useless. The dirty pond and muddy pool are filled with bacteria and parasites, and without tools to start a fire and boil the water, he could get sick. The best bet is the tall, leafy tree. He simply needs to tie the bag on the edge of a branch and pierce it slightly with a stick. The tree will produce drinkable water through transpiration. Well, that's clever. Where's the waiter? Adam is the head waiter at a 1-story steakhouse. On the busiest night of the week, he vanished, and the owner called the police to file a missing persons report. Detectives talked to the last 3 people who saw him. A trainee server said she only saw him when he got to work and parked his bicycle. The chef said he saw the waiter in the kitchen when he came to get a glass of orange juice. The cook said he last saw the waiter going upstairs. After the statements, the police arrested the cook. Why? This was a 1-story restaurant. He couldn't have gone upstairs. Spilling the tea. Susie went to study for her university exam at a coffee shop. She ordered a white tea and sat down. 10 minutes later, she got up to go to the bathroom. When she returned, her laptop wouldn't turn on and her teacup was empty. Someone had spilled the tea on her computer and cleaned it up. She called the manager, told him what happened, and they came up with 3 suspects. The barista said he had been swamped and didn't see anything. The supervisor said he was sorry that the milky tea spilled on the computer, and he could see if insurance would cover the cost. The head barista said he was sorry the milky tea spilled on her laptop, and he'd make her another one while they waited for the police to arrive. Immediately, the store manager knew who did it. It was the supervisor. He couldn't have known that the tea had milk in it since it was cleaned up. The only person who remembered the order was the one who prepared it. The missing phone. We're at the coffee shop again. This time, Stuart forgot his phone on the table when he left. But once he realized and came back, his phone was gone. He saw a guy running outside the store, and Stuart chased him. When he caught him, Stuart said, "I've lost my device. Did you take it by accident?" The man replied, "I have no idea where your phone is, sir. I was just grabbing coffee." Stuart immediately called the police. Why? Stuart told him he lost his device. That could have been anything from a smartwatch to a camera or something else. The guy couldn't have known it was a phone unless he took it. Where did the baker go? The Cupcakes Den is a local shop that became famous for its tasty, well, you guessed it, cupcakes. On Monday morning, the head baker vanished, and the shop couldn't deliver the 200 cupcakes they had promised for a birthday party. The owner called the police, and they had 3 suspects in their custody. The helper said he had gone out to buy more frosting, but when he returned, the baker was gone. The waiter said he had been cleaning the shop of the massive mess from making the 200 cupcakes. The manager said he was meeting with a new supplier to get more beef jerky at the shop. The detectives knew who was lying. Can you guess it? It's the manager. Who needs beef jerky at a cupcake shop? Get the last question right. Adam was taking part in a brain teaser TV game show, and he had one last question to answer before winning $50,000. He was tired and decided to call his best friend Luke to help him. The host asked, "If you could rearrange the order of the letters in this word, ACIPCIF, what does it show? A country, a city, a large mountain, or an ocean?" Luke answered correctly. Can you? An ocean. If you unscramble the word, it shows Pacific. Where's he hiding? Martin vanished one morning and his family called the police. Detectives searched everywhere and questioned 15 people, but none of them gave any untruthful answers. His son Jake found a letter from his dad saying, "If you love me, you'll find me." He went to his father's office to see if he could find any clues. He was looking around the room and immediately knew where his father was hiding. Can you guess it? On the wall, there's a picture frame with his dad's cabin, and it's got a hand-drawn circle on it. He must be there. Lost in an underwater cave. Sarah just got her certificate as a cave diver. She decided to spend her afternoon exploring some dangerous underwater ocean caves. While turning left and right, she got lost. She didn't have enough time to look for her way back and continued swimming further. That was when she came across 3 openings. Through the first, there were 45 hungry piranhas. Through the second, a great white shark. And through the last one, a giant box jellyfish. Which is the safest path? The first one. Piranhas are freshwater fish. They can't survive in salt water. The van. Susan was outside watering her plants when she noticed 3 people dressed in black clothing carrying electronic devices from her neighbor's home. She asked them what they were doing, and they said they were from a moving company. Immediately, Susan called the police. Why? There were no license plates on the van, and movers don't only carry electronic equipment, but all sorts of stuff. The prison escape. One morning, Detective Smith was called into a maximum security prison to discover how 3 men had managed to escape from their cells. The prisoners could neither see nor talk to each other, but they arranged their escape together. They went to the shower room at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only one person was allowed in at different periods. How did they manage to communicate and escape? They wrote messages to each other on the bathroom mirrors, used steam to read them, and planned their escape together. The villa disappearance. It was a cold, rainy weekend. Michael, Susie, Amara, and Luke were spending Saturday and Sunday together playing board games. On Saturday morning, when they woke up, Amara was missing. They looked everywhere for her but couldn't find her. That was when Luke called the police. Detectives examined the room and asked everybody what they were doing at 4 a.m. Luke said he couldn't sleep, so he went downstairs to the gaming room to play some online games. Michael said he couldn't sleep either, so he went outside to look at the stars. Susie said she followed Michael outside to get some fresh air. That was when the detectives figured out who was lying. Michael and Susie. It was a rainy weekend, remember? The cursed photo. Alan was on his final stretch to becoming a detective. He passed a bunch of assessments until he reached the last one. This was where his attention to detail skills would be tested. The chief of police handed Alan a photo. He told him, "This is Michael. He's having a birthday party. But something in this photo is very eerie." Alan spotted it in 2 seconds. Can you? There's a hand inside the blue balloon. Well, how did it get there? The right amount of water. Peter was the best problem solver in his class. One day, his chemistry teacher called him up to test his intelligence and inspire his peers. He gave Peter 3 glass jugs. None of them had any measuring markings on them, but just a label showing their maximum capacity. The first jug was filled with water up to the top, and the label read 8 liters. The second was empty, and its label showed 5 liters. The third was also empty, with a maximum capacity of 3 liters. The teacher told Peter to arrange the liquid so that only 2 liters remained in one glass jug without using any measuring tools. Peter figured out how to do it in 4 seconds. First, he needs to fill the 5-liter jug all the way to the top. Then he needs to pour the water from the 5-liter jug into the 3-liter jar until it's full. What remains in the 5-liter jug is 2 liters. The treasure coin. An archaeologist spent the past year looking for a lost ancient treasure. As he was digging, he found one ancient gold coin. He took it to his museum. When his colleagues carefully cleaned the coin and took a closer look, they refused to accept it. Why? It reads 100 BCE on the back. Ancient people didn't know they lived in that era. Or did they? No, they didn't. 4 friends were hiking in the mountains. At lunchtime, it started pouring down. The friends hid in a cave. They decided to 4 friends were hiking from the entrance to protect themselves from the chilly wind. When they were already deep in the cave, Amelia discovered she'd lost her phone. The girl asked her friends to go and look for her gadget, and she was going to stay there and start a fire. In a half an hour, the guys were back. James said he hadn't noticed a lake in the dark and had fallen into it. Oliver told her he had seen some bats, got terribly scared, and rushed back. And Ethan nearly got lost. "I'm so happy I made it back to you." Which guy behaved suspiciously? Ethan lied. James was soaked through after falling into the water. But why was Ethan's hair wet? It looks as if he was outside in the rain, but decided not to tell his friends about it. Mr. Lawrence called the police. He said someone had taken his car for a joyride, crashed it into a streetlight, and run away. The man was sure it had been one of his neighbors. The police questioned 3 of them. Ivy answered she had been at work and arrived home only in the evening. Cameron told the police he had been helping his dad remove old stuff from the attic. And Aaron claimed he had been hanging out with his friends, eating pizza, and binge-watching the latest series. After listening to all the suspects, the police officers arrested one of them. Who was it? It was Cameron. There's no attic in his house. He invented the whole story. Jackson was going to marry the love of his life, Liza. But one day before the wedding, his fiancée disappeared. Her room was a mess. On her bed, Jackson found a note with several hastily written numbers, 5509-710. Jackson knew 3 other guys were in love with his wife-to-be. Jaden was a landscape designer and often sent Liza beautiful flowers. Luke owned a gas station and usually tanked up the girl's car for free. And Asher was a hairstylist and helped Liza with her hair. All of these guys wouldn't be above taking the girl away to prevent her from marrying Jackson. But just one of them was actually guilty. Who? Jackson turned the note over and realized it read, "Oil Boss." It was Luke who had taken Liza away. Kevin had been dreaming of getting a motorbike for ages. He'd taken several training courses and read tons of specialized literature. And finally, the guy saved enough to buy the motorcycle of his dreams. Kevin was so excited, he immediately went for a ride. The guy was enjoying the trip when suddenly some force pushed him to the side of the road. He lost control of his bike and crashed into a tree. Luckily, Kevin was wearing a helmet and was unharmed, unlike his precious motorbike. The guy looked around and saw a gray Ford disappearing into the distance. It was a hit and run. Kevin was devastated. He checked his motorcycle. Despite being damaged, it was okay to ride. The guy continued on his way. Just several minutes later, he saw the very same gray Ford parked near a coffee shop. Kevin rushed inside and saw 4 people. He didn't need much time to understand who the driver that had hit him was. It's the man standing near the counter. The rest of the visitors are already eating. He's the only one still choosing what to order. Naomi invited her friends to a pajama party at her house where she lived with her parents and an older brother. The only thing she told the girls was, "Don't enter my brother's room. Mark loves playing tricks on people, and once you're in there, you might not be able to get out." They had been eating, gossiping, and watching viral TikTok videos until one of Naomi's friends asked, "Wait, where's Rebecca?" What the girls didn't know was that Rebecca went to the kitchen to drink some water. But she got lost and ended up in Mark's room. The door closed behind her back, and try as she might, it wouldn't open. That's when the girl noticed a password lock with letters on it. At a loss, Rebecca looked around. Was that a piece of paper on the table? She picked it up and saw 5 numbers on it: 37692. The girl thought for a while, then entered a combination of letters and got out of the room. What was the password? The code was the first letters of the 5 numbers: TSSNT. Claire's the best student in her class. She's also friendly and kind. Her classmates love her nice character and how she always finds a way to help them at the tests. This time, though, it's going to be tough. There will be new rules during their upcoming math exam. There won't be anyone at school except for the students and several teachers. The library, cafeteria, and gym will be closed. Students will have to leave their phones in a special locker. It won't be allowed to talk whatsoever. If students need to go to the bathroom, they'll have to do it one by one. And the teacher will check the bathroom after each student, even the toilet paper. Claire's classmates are devastated. They know they're going to fail the test. "Don't worry," the girl says, "I've got an idea." When the kids get their exam results, they see the highest marks. Their teacher knows the students cheated, but how? Claire was the first to go to the bathroom. She wrote the correct answers on the steamy mirror with her finger, and her classmates could read the answers by breathing on the mirror. The little cheaters. Detective Brown is following a man who's suspected of smuggling. Suddenly, the man speeds up and disappears around the corner. The detective runs after him, but there's no sign of the man. The only place where the suspect could hide is a beauty salon. Brown rushes inside and sees 3 women, but he knows for sure one of them must be the man he's looking for. Which one? All of the women look stylish and ladylike. But look at the arms of the one sitting on the right. They're too hairy to belong to a woman. That's our criminal. An expensive ring went missing from a jewelry store on the first floor of a large shopping mall. The manager called the police. After watching the CCTV camera footage, they had 3 suspects: a student, a woman with a 10-year-old daughter, and an elderly man. The student said he had agreed to meet with his friend next to the jewelry store. "I didn't even set foot inside." The woman was furious. "I was at the movies with my daughter here in the mall when everything happened." The elderly man said, "Yes, I did enter the store. I felt unwell and asked for a glass of water, but I didn't take the ring." Who's lying? All the movies running at that time had 16+ age rating. The woman wouldn't be able to watch any of them with her young daughter. Vicky's friends knew the girl loved all kinds of riddles and puzzles. Once, they decided to play a trick on her. While she was sleeping, they moved her to the attic and left her there with nothing but a note, a pen, and a flashlight. When Vicky woke up, she found herself in a dark room with no windows, a locked door, and a table with a piece of paper on it. The note said, "Crack this riddle, write down the answer, and slip it under the door. If it's correct, you'll be set free. M1Y L1I1F1E." Vicky was a smart girl. She didn't need much time to find the answer to the riddle. Do you know it? The expression hidden in the note is, "for once in my life." After Vicky slipped the paper under the door, her cheering friends let her out. Justin was an archaeologist who explored ancient pyramids. One day, something went wrong, and he ended up locked in a tiny room deep underground. The guy got into the room through a narrow passage. It was blocked by a rock slide several minutes after he entered. There was only one other door in the room, but it was locked. To open it, the guy had to solve a riddle. It looked like this. After mulling it over for some time, Justin guessed what it meant. Can you? The answer is try to understand. One day, a public library made a strange announcement. Each member could borrow as many books as they wanted. They also didn't have to return them for the next half a year. Why? The library was moving to a new building, but they didn't have enough money. And this way, the patrons would move most of the books by themselves. Smart!